Hello everyone, welcome to Time Chat. I'm your host, Dr. Yvonne Khan. For most of us, photography is something that we're all fascinated by since childhood. Depending on the era that you grew up in, as kids, we all remember playing with our parents' cameras, asking for permission to use it to take photos, and these included various types of cameras, from Polaroid cameras to old-school point-and-shoot cameras. As technology evolved throughout the past decade, traditional cameras from our childhood were slowly replaced by digital cameras and eventually our smartphones. Today, ordinary citizens like you and me can take pictures, use our lighting filters, and post to social media like Facebook and Instagram all under a New York minute. For a select few, however, their interest in photography not only became major hobbies, but became a calling or even a career. While some photographers enter wedding photography, others use their talents behind the lens to capture and tell important stories of people, places, and movements. This October, the Bangladeshi American Creative Collective is proud to present Transitions, a photography exhibition that will be hosted at the Bronx Museum of the Arts from October 15, 2015 to February 14, 2016. With the rise of factories, investors, and development, the landscape of Bangladesh is changing. The spotlight has been turned on, and the people are trying to figure out what it means for them. This exhibition will feature 9 Bangladeshi photographers whose work reflects a diverse group of people, shifting economies, and changing lands. Its aim is to not only collect and exhibit photography as art, but also as ideas about the country of Bangladesh. These photos navigate the stories of its people, landscapes, and its position in the world. Furthermore, the Transitions team hopes to open important discussions around the meaning of changes, shifts, and transitions across generations and communities. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Ayesha Akther, the director and curator of Transition, a photography exhibit. Ayesha, thank you so much for joining us on Time Chat today.
Thanks for having me.
You guys must be pretty busy. We're a month away from the start of this amazing exhibition. Please tell us what inspired the Transition exhibition in the first place.
Well, Transitions was really inspired by this lack of education and knowledge of Bangladeshi contemporary art. Mm-hmm. So we really wanted, when you think about Bangladeshi art, like what do most people think about? Like before I started doing this work, nothing came to mind. But then as we started researching, we realized there are a lot of really amazing artists and art happening in third world countries like Bangladesh, but there's not much of a platform for them.
Okay.
So we really wanted to bring these photographers and their work here and to show people that there's like really great work being done in Bangladesh.
So this sounds fantastic. I understand the Transitions team has 5 to 10 of you organizers, and you folks are covering the work of 9 photographers. What went into choosing which photographers will make the cut for Transitions, and how did you mix the lineup for the different styles of photography available today?
Well, a great amount of research went into this. I actually went to Chobi Mela, a photography festival in Bangladesh, and that was a great opportunity to scope out a lot of artists. Some of the artists were from an exhibition we did previously, so it's kind of a mixture of repeating from the past show and also kind of discovering new stories that we wanted to tell. We really wanted the story to be like about the present, the now.
Okay.
So we wanted works that were extremely relevant to right now. So it's not really about historical Bangladesh. It's more about what's presently happening, and this huge change and shift that's going on. There's the spotlight is really on right now in Bangladesh because of all the crazily bad things that have happened. So we want to like change that and like say, hey, like there's all this really terrible things happen, but there's like so many good things happening too.
So you guys had to make the tough decision to choose 9 photographers in their work. Can you tell us a little bit about the types of photography that we can expect to see at the exhibition next month?
There are different styles of photography. A lot of it is very documentary style.
Okay.
And the other half of it is more arts focused. So those are the 2 types of photography that exists.
So one's, addressing social causes and whether it's the tragedies in the factory industries there, and the others are more the arts focus.
Like speaking to Western art, or like really pushing what photography means and ideas. We have an artist that's doing more abstract work, so it's really a mix.
And the 9 photographers, are they Bangladeshi, as in they reside there as well, or are they Bangladeshi descent, and some of them are living in Western countries?
They're all Bangladeshi, so they all are from there.
And
they
they're
live
living
there right now.
Fantastic,
Yeah.
fantastic. So you mentioned Chobimela. You had to go there and start, the research process and find out what's out there. What other steps have you and the team have had to take to get this far? We're only a month away from the start of the exhibition.
Right. So it took a lot of work, about 2 years worth of work. First, we had a smaller exhibition that kind of got the attention of the community. Like, hey, these kids are doing actually really good work, And then we wanted to get the attention of the larger arts community.
Okay.
And that involved writing a lot of grants and doing a lot of grunt work, and just like really calling attention to the works of like a country that people don't even know how to pronounce, or like don't even know where the location of this place is.
And so to those, at home, we all have a good idea of where Bangladesh is, and most of us are from there in some fashion or another. But the country's also gone through a lot of changes in the past 2 decades. What are some of those changes that you hope that this exhibition can capture?
Right. So the changes actually does come from development, and we want to really focus on like the good that's happening and as well as the bad. So one thing that is really good is that Bangladesh is getting a lot of attention because of how its impact on the global world. Like it's hugely contributes to the textile and garment industry,
Okay.
and where all the Western world is really, really involved and connected to it.
Okay.
What we want to do is take it a step further and say, hey, it's not just about your T-shirt. This is a people with a really developed, advanced culture and like society, and you should learn about it because there's a lot that Bangladesh has to give to you, a lot more than just textiles.
So in addition to the 150 to 200 million Bangladeshis residing in Bangladesh right now, we have hundreds of thousands of Bangladeshis that have migrated to places like the United States, Australia, England, for generations now. How would you see Western Bangladeshis residing in Western lands accepting this exhibition? I mean, it's going to be in New York for 4 months, so anyone who's visiting New York will have the opportunity to go see it. How would you compare and address that?
That's a great question. That's exactly one of the goals of the exhibition, is to connect Bangladeshi diaspora kids, Bangladeshi Americans, Bangladeshis from England, all those who grew up abroad, to kind of reconnect them to their roots and say, hey, like, it's not all about the food and the clothes. It's more. It's about arts and culture and also kind of to realize like these people aren't so different from you know. They're that to make that connection there, and also to really like, there are a lot of people that don't really even know like names of cities in Bangladesh. There are a lot of kids that grew up here abroad and are so disconnected. Just kind of like rekindle some interest and be like, hey, there's so much going on.
So speaking about interest in our cities, in New York City we have about 8 to 10 Bangladeshi neighborhoods. We have Jackson Heights, Queens, we have Jamaica, we have Brooklyn, we have Parkchester and Castle Hill up in the Bronx. Out of all of these, Lower East Side of Manhattan, a lot of these places are Bangladeshi heavy.
Yeah.
How did your team at Transitions decide to take this exhibition north to the Bronx?
Right. So we had this wonderful opportunity to work with the Bronx Museum of the Arts, and we also received funding from the Bronx Council of the Arts. So that's one of the reasons why we chose that location. But also, there's a huge demographic of Bangladeshis there, and it's a growing community. People are like moving there, and it's just an expanding community. But it's also a community that isn't so well connected. I feel like the Bangladeshi community in Jackson Heights, Queens is like really, really strong, and people always go there. But now we want like people to visit the Bronx and say like, there's something to see here too. You can visit us up here, and there's going to be this exhibition happening.
I'm so excited to hear that, because as you know, I went to Bronx Science. I went to high school in the Bronx. I spend at least 2 to 3 weekends in the Bronx every weekend doing work in the community there. So we're really excited to see more of these exhibitions, hosted by our brothers and sisters up in the Bronx. Thank you so much, Ayesha, for that remark. We're so excited to catch up with you more after this break. You're watching Time Chat with Dr. Yvonne Khan. We're joined by the team at Transitions this afternoon. Stay tuned, and we'll see you after these messages. Welcome back to Time Chat. I'm your host, Dr. Yvonne Khan. Today on Time Chat, we're joined by the curator for the Transitions Art exhibit, Ayesha Akther. So Ayesha, before we left, you were talking about the lack of awareness for a lot of Western kids who grew up here around the different aspects of the different areas of Bangladesh and just educating them more on it. How did the group come together? I mean, I know the group consists of artists, photographers, some research-heavy experts. How did you guys, come together in the first place with this project?
That's a great question. We came together through a project that we did previously called Eyes on Bangladesh, and that actually connected all of us together, but all of us also to the greater Bangladeshi community, and that's how we have known each other. So, and I guess the person that kind of brought us all together as one unit was Nabil. He knew us individually and was like, oh wait, maybe this person, we can all work together on a project, and that's how it happened.
And Eyes on Bangladesh, as a lot of the viewers at home have actually visited, there's a fantastic, about 4 to 7 days, almost a week-long exhibition in Queens. And I guess that was the starting point for this group to have this next project.
Right.
There are a lot of folks out at home who are into photography from childhood, or they're getting into it, as they're going into their adolescence. What advice would you have for those at home who are into photography or the arts?
I would advise them to really educate themselves. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to know about the art world, but so it's not one. If you're interested in the arts and if you're interested in photography, there's 2 ways you have to educate yourself. 1 is in technique, and 2 is what already exists. Sorry, 3 ways. And 3rd is your own life experiences. You just have to, in order to be a really great artist, you have to have a lot of life experiences. So those 3 things together is how you develop your art or your photography. And
before the show got started, I understand that your background is not in photography itself, but in other forms of art. So even if you're into other forms of art, how would you recommend folks collaborating with other artists to, as they say, 2 heads are better than 1 often.
Yes.
So how would you inspire other artists from the non-photography realm to collaborate with others?
I would encourage them to do as much as they can to make friends, to connect and network. I think sometimes artists get this rep that they have to be individualistic and do their work in a studio by themselves. But that's not how it should be, because in order to push yourself as an artist, you have to tell people about your work, and you have to get them to critique you. And if you're a photographer and there's a lot of value of getting a critique from a painter, because there's just 2 different kinds of brains working on one thing together.
And on that note, why don't you tell the folks a little bit about your art project? I know you're working on something separate from Transition, so we'd love to hear a little bit about that, so we can look forward to that too.
I'm working on a project called the Burqa Project, and what I do is I dress men in burqas, head to toe, and they have to spend a whole day in this burqa. I'm trying to get somebody to do it for longer, but it's really extremely hard to do that. And then through this day, I document their experience in the burqa. And this is men from all different kinds of backgrounds. So Muslim men, Mufuzul was actually part of did that.
Wow.
It was part of the project. It was a crazy experience. He was doing it in DC. So that's also, like, there aren't that many people in burqas in DC in the first place, but so the project is to create some kind of equality between the expectations that exist for Muslim women and the expectations that exist for Muslim men. I feel like it's mostly relevant to countries where the majority of people aren't Muslim. So in like Saudi Arabia, if you're wearing a burqa, you belong, right? But here, if you wear a burqa, you stand out and you're like kind of this target. And the expectation I find from my own experience is that men are more like allowed to assimilate into the culture that they've moved to, but women have to be the carriers of the culture. So it's kind of to question that, like, why do the women have to be the carriers of the culture?
So hopefully one of the goals you have and the objectives is to have a more balance and equality in the assimilation versus keeping traditions across family units.
Exactly.
Fantastic. We have less than a month until the Transitions project gets launched. Any final goals that you want to talk about? It's going to be a 4-month exhibition at the Bronx Museum. Any hopes and goals that you have for our community or from the New York City community to accept or to embrace the project? Please share us with those goals.
Our final goal is to get as many people to come as possible from every type of community, background, place, like tell everybody. We want this to be, we've been working so hard for the show to be available and accessible to people in the community. So that's like it. Now we're just focusing on promoting and marketing and saying, hey, come, these are the days. We're also working on creating programming. So we'll have, what I really love to do is have an art space with other types of art in it. So there's nothing like art inspires art, right? So we are also working on a program where we get writers from the Asian American Writers Program to come look at the art and then write about it. We're having a day where we'll have performances as well.
Wow.
So it's just art interacting with art. So
a lot of cross-cultural, different types of art collaboration.
Exactly.
Fantastic. And before the final month of things getting launched, do you have any final message for the viewers at home? We have a lot of young families, teenagers who are watching with their families, who are interested in art, but a lot of the time there's resistance in our community because of being pressured into medicine or engineering, or even if art's a career for some, a big hobby for others. What final message do you have for our youngsters at home?
Just be involved and pursue your passion. But of course, like, there's a balance. Like, I have a day job, but it doesn't mean that I'm still not really involved in what I'm passionate about.
Got it. Well, thank you so much, Ayesha, for joining us. We can't wait to speak to you and some of your teammates once the exhibition gets started next month.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Can't wait to take our teammates and our community up there to see it for ourselves.
Great. We're excited to see you there.
We just had a chance to hear from Ayesha Akther, the curator and director of the upcoming Transition exhibit in New York City this October. It's always amazing to see young people put their minds and hearts together to improve a society as a whole. Impact-wise, the Transitions exhibit hopes to represent and reach a community that is largely glossed over and stereotyped in the mainstream media. As Bangladeshi Americans who grew up in the U.S., we observe a stark asymmetry in the relations of our two homelands. Bangladesh provides the U.S. with a significant portion of its ready-made garments, yet among Americans, it remains one of the least understood countries in South Asia. Despite the increasing number of Bangladeshis in all 5 boroughs, especially in the neighborhoods of the Bronx, they are sorely underrepresented. As quoted in Art Info and the New York Times, Bangladeshis on the arts map Bangladeshi art is growing, yet we want to add more to the conversation. This exhibition takes off from the vibrant energy of Eyes on Bangladesh, which took place in March of 2014. That exhibit featured the work of 9 prominent Bangladeshi photographers, including renowned artist Taslima Akther. Ultimately, Transitions will provide Bangladeshis with greater exposure in and access to New York's cultural and artistic landscape, and provide a way for all generations to recognize the diversity of their roots through the lens of the photographers. This, in turn, will open space for new inter- and intra-generational conversation and perhaps even inspire the creation of new art. Thank you so much for joining us on Time Chat today. I'm your host, Dr. Yvonne Khan. We'll see you next week, and until then, pay it forward.